Hi, everybody. This is Sophie, co host of the Mulberry podcast. If you're not subscribed already, please do. Thanks for checking us out, and make sure that you check out Mulberry Dreams, Instagram, and Twitter as well.
Mulberry Dreams, 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 dreams.
They timestamp it on YouTube.
Do they?
Yeah. Dear Diary, December, I don't even remember what you said. 11th. Dallas wanted me to be on his podcast. I said yes.
Is that what it is? You wanted to? I thought, because, that this is like your podcast too now, You got to own it.
Well, yeah, but it only happened because you wanted me to be on it. I didn't think of that.
So you had never volunteered unless I asked you?
No, I didn't feel like that was right.
Why?
To ask.
Why? People hit me up all the time. Bro, let me be on your pod. Like, that's how a lot of people I get on my podcast. They tell me.
I mean, probably interesting people, though. I feel like my life is so boring. And I'm like...
Well, just because you have a boring life doesn't mean you're a boring person. Ooh.
But
just let that sink in real quick.
If you're not a boring person, wouldn't you have a more exciting life?
Not necessarily. That's not the same thing. You can definitely be an interesting person, and someone looks at your life and like, bro, you don't do shit. Like So I guess it's just perspective. I
guess so.
Huh? But anyway, this is episode 61 of the Mulberry podcast, and we are back at it. This is I'm dead ass. We're gonna do these weekly, whether it's by myself or not. But last week I did one by myself. How'd that make you feel? Did you care or not? No?
No, it was fine because we didn't get a chance to.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we're here, me and Sophie. What's going on, Sophie? I know that you watched the last podcast. What did you think of it?
I thought it was good. I don't know very much about football or care, but I was still interested the whole time.
Right.
But I also just love hearing you talk. Like, I love your voice.
Okay.
So.
I hope everyone else does too. That's why they listen, because they love my voice, not the substance that I bring.
I don't think, maybe.
So you had a problem with, one thing you did have a problem with was the story I told about how we met, and you felt like I left a lot of important things out, which I kind of did, but you weren't having it. So
I mean, you didn't do it justice.
Okay, so what did I leave out that you want to bring up and let everyone know?
First of all, we have been talking before we ever met at that bar. That was not
How
where
long were we
met.
talking, though?
Not that long. I don't know. A couple weeks.
Not even a week.
No way.
Yes, I messaged you that Monday.
That was Friday?
That was Saturday. Yes, that's what I'm saying. It wasn't like weeks like of us talking. Like, I messaged you on Instagram on Monday. And then,
but still.
Well, we could air you out.
That us meeting at that bar was an accident.
Exactly, because the real idea, the real goal was, I got her number on Monday. I was texting her. I said, hey, let's hang out on Thursday. Or I said, let's hang out. Like, go get something to eat or something. She said, yeah, let's do it on Thursday. And then Thursday comes, and I text her, like, hey, like, what are you doing? And she was all like, oh, I'm hungover, like, talking all like that, as if, like, she wasn't really wanting to go hang out. So I was like, okay, well, we could do it another time. And then she was just like, okay. So I took it as, like, you didn't even want to hang out. And, like, you were flaking.
That wasn't true. I really was hungover. I didn't want to go get food.
Well, you could have said that and be like,
I did.
Well, we could just hang out.
Yeah, I didn't provide any alternatives.
Exactly.
So that is my fault.
Yeah, so I didn't think you wanted to hang out. So I was like, all right, whatever. We could just hang out another time. And you were like, okay. And then that was kind of that. Exactly. And then I messaged you on Saturday, like, hey, what are you doing? You're like, I'm going to the bar. And I was like, oh, I'm over here at this bar. And you're like, oh my God, I'm going in there right now. And then boom, that's how I met you. So like, you don't think like we were like, we weren't even really talking all that much during the week.
Yeah, that's true.
See, you thought you were gonna come in here and air shit out, like I was hiding something or like lying or making it seem like that's not how it happened. I just left all that little bit out because we literally did meet the Saturday, like that Saturday. Like we didn't talk a whole lot before that, so it was kind of random.
Yeah. But like you were a little drunk, but you were still like so sweet.
I was sweet.
Yeah, you were.
I don't really remember that.
You bought me a drink right off the bat. And for my friends too, but they weren't able to get in, so that was different. But then you went to another bar with us, and
That bar was wild. That bar, honestly, it was like O'Reilly's in Merced for people who are from the 209 and know that reference. It's like kind of wild,
yeah, it's a shitty bar.
and motherfuckers were in there fighting, all that.
Like half the people in there are like 19.
Tracer and Trevor left, and as they were leaving, there was like a fight that broke out outside, and they were just
Yeah.
watching it. Like, what the fuck?
That happens a lot.
Yeah,
That would happen a lot.
but it doesn't happen at the other one we go to. Like, hardly.
Not as much. Because they're stricter with who they let in. Like, they'll actually look at your ID. Whereas the other place doesn't. They let anybody in.
Yeah, but I was pretty faded that day. But anyway, yeah, there's not much really to clear up with that. There's really not. Right or wrong?
I want to talk about tipping culture. Because, you know, I'm a server. I've been working in restaurants for
Oh,
3-4 years.
are you, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. You said 3 to 4 years? Do you want to talk about where you worked before you worked at where you work now?
I don't know.
You don't want to air it out? You don't work there no more, so it don't matter. Huh?
I guess I did work there only briefly.
My girl Sylvie was a Hooters girl. You feel me? Oh, shit.
But literally from December 2021 to July 2022. So like 6 months.
All right, so you worked
7 months.
you worked at a diner before that, right? And then you worked at Hooters, and now you work at a fancy restaurant. It's pretty fancy. More
You
high
missed
end.
one. Because I worked at the diner for like 2 years in Florida. And
Okay.
then I worked at Craven Wings. So I worked at a wing joint.
Is that like a sports bar?
Sort of. It's more like the bar is really small. It's mostly a restaurant.
Okay.
But they have a bunch of TVs. I always play the games. I mean, it's wings.
Okay, and then Hooters,
Then Hooters.
and now a fancy restaurant.
Yeah, I actually worked at both of those wing places at the same time for a little while.
Okay.
I hated that.
So my question to you is, because you wanted to talk about tipping culture, just with your experience, have you noticed the difference from those different establishments on the tipping? Like the people who go into like a diner, or people who go into a wing type spot, or a Hooters is different, brings a different culture in there, and then also the fancy, your high-end restaurant.
Yeah. Since the demographic is quite different for all those restaurants, tipping and tipping culture in those restaurants is very different as well. So, like the diner, our demographic was mostly older white people. Like older. So, a lot of the times, 20% is like a great tip. And the food is cheap too, which is frustrating because 2 people can come in, eat, get dessert, drinks, their iced teas or whatever, and their bill is like $30. So, $6 is like, you had great service, like type. So the money really wasn't very good. The only thing that the only way we were able to make money is because it would be so freaking busy. You'd have 6 tables at the same time, constantly rotating. One gets up, one sits down. So you make it just adds up. $6 here, $5 here, $4 here, $10 there, adds up. And that was how we made our money. But working at Hooters, people aren't necessarily better tippers. It's the men that want more attention tip better, because they know they're not going to get treated as well or get as much time from the girls if they're not paying for it.
Right.
So that's just how that works for them.
So they're kind of paying for your attention a little bit.
Yeah, it's definitely not for the food. We all know that.
Yeah, food is trash, bro. Hooters food sucks.
It doesn't suck.
Yes,
you can't say it sucks because you like to eat it.
I like to eat. Like, that's like, I'm not, like, it's not, I can't give a good, solid judgment. It's really not that good of food. I'll eat it because I can, you know, I should care more, but I don't care what I put in my body like I should when I eat.
Honestly, there's things from the menu that I think about sometimes. Like, I would want to eat. Yeah.
So, Hooters, like, you really do, like, there's a lot of, like dudes with families that go in there, like, married dudes, and, like, they don't care. They're just, like...
Oh, yeah, most of our regulars, well, I don't want to say most, but a good chunk of our regulars, the men who are in there at least once or twice a week, every week, were married with kids. They would just come in and do that.
But you said they openly talked about it.
Oh, yeah,
while they were doing what they were doing.
Yeah.
That's wild.
Oh, yeah, there was a man particularly. He was actually pretty well known within our restaurant because of this reason, but I heard about him, but I never met him. So when I first served him, I was just chatting with him like normal. I didn't know who he was. And I was sitting with him at his table. It was a morning shift, it was a lunch shift, so it was super slow. He was one of the only tables I had. He was just by himself. So I was just sitting there chatting with him. We're just small talking. I'm telling him about how I used to live in Florida. And he's telling me about himself too, his wife. And I mean, he was saying things like, oh, our marriage is dying and there's no love. And I'm just sitting there thinking, like, maybe it's because you're here. Like, oh, you know?
Right? Like, what effort are you putting into it?
But we're sitting there. And then at the end of our conversation, he tells me, oh, you know, if you want to send me some pictures or videos or anything like that, like, I'll compensate you well for it. And after he said that, I was like, oh my gosh, you're blah blah blah, because I had heard about other girls telling me about him and other girls sending him stuff. And
does he pay well?
They say he does.
Damn.
They say he did.
He probably got a whole ass collection of just like Hooter girl naked pics.
Yeah, but
That's
one
wild.
thing that I was curious about, because whenever I ask girls about this, or I'm like, how do you do this? They'll be like, oh, my face isn't in it, or like, I just send like this or that. And so I asked him for the tea. I was like, do girls be sending, like, what do these girls be sending you? And he told me everything. He was like, he gets full videos. Like, he's like, yeah, their face is always in it. Like, I don't know why they would say that. And like, shit like that. I was like, damn, why are these girls lying? Like,
they're trying to keep, you know, they don't want to be judged, you know, but they still want that money.
Yeah. And like, not all guys are idiots. Like, you can't just Google naked girl and send them a picture. They're not like fucking dumb, or most of them. But
how come those girls just don't make like OnlyFans or something if they want to do it anyway and get paid?
You know, I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of them did. I didn't really hear about that. But
well, you weren't there for that long either, huh?
Yeah, I wasn't. But also, like, a lot of these girls do have boyfriends. Like, they do have relationships. So I'm sure, like, I don't know, shit at work and slide probably, or like not get found out about, but OnlyFans would be
right. Well, and the thing about you is when that, like, one of the first times, well, when we met at the bar, I went to Hooters the next day because you were working, and we were talking, and like we're talking, and I'm looking at you, I'm like, why do you work here? Like, you're not, like, you don't fit the profile, like, attitude wise of like someone who wants to work here. You know what I mean? Like, you're not, like, all the like what you just described, like, you weren't like that at all. So that's why one of my big questions, like, what the fuck are you doing here? Like, you're way too smart for this shit.
I mean, it was fun to work there. It was so low effort. I didn't have to do shit. Like, there's barely any side work at all. You pretty much just come in, make sure your makeup is done, your hair looks nice, and do a average serving job because they don't care. So it was really, like, super easy. That was the thing.
But where you work now, you got to put in a lot more effort.
Yeah, you do. It's more work.
But you do get compensated more
Yeah.
overall than working there.
But I also find it a little bit easier to work at where I'm working now than at Hooters because I'm not extroverted. Like, I get really tired from talking to people all day. And that's all Hooters is. You sit and you talk and you get to know the customers and you get to know the regulars and you build a relationship with them. And that's like the whole thing. It doesn't matter how well you serve or not, pretty much. Now, this place I'm working at, it's completely the opposite. They don't want to talk to you. They don't care about you or your life. Like, it's very rare to get somebody to ask me about myself. And
That you're talking about the customers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because most people that come in there, where I'm working now, they are coming for a family event. They're coming for a birthday. They're coming to meet up with an old friend. They don't care about what I'm doing or who I am. They just want good service and they want good food. And so it's easy to, like, make sure that I'm doing my job well than to try and be your friend in the moment for me. Or at least it's less exhausting for me to try to do that. And they actually really encourage us to not ever small talk with our guests.
Isn't there a dress code there too? So that kind of shows like how they want, like who they want to come into the restaurant too. Or like if you're gonna come here, you need to like dress a certain way, act a certain way.
Yeah, we don't strictly enforce a dress code, but most people just come in looking nice. It's a nice place to come in looking nice, especially if they're celebrating something or, you know, having an event.
Yeah, I always feel awkward when I go in there. I go sit at the bar. Like, you said that they don't let ball, like, you can't wear a ball cap, but I wore my Dodger cap a couple times, but it was earlier in the day. I bet you if it was during, like, dinner time, they probably would have said something.
Like I said, they're not very strict on it. And I don't think one of those high school or right out of high school hostess is going to tell you can't wear that.
No,
you know?
your manager probably would have, though.
Yeah, if they notice you come in and sit down. They're busy.
Well, she does when you come over and stand there at the bar and talk to me.
Oh, that's the morning manager though.
She's cool.
Yeah.
There's a bigger one than her.
Yeah, we have a general manager.
Oh.
Yeah, because she's technically, like, she's a manager, but that's not really her title, I don't think. But yeah.
So do you think in general people don't tip how they're supposed to?
At the place I work, in general, I think it gets tricky.
Yeah, well, because tipping, like, that service, you make a living off your tips. Like you said, you get paid, like, $2.13. $2.13 an hour. So, like, you're living off your tips.
Yeah. Literally don't see the $2 at all. It's taxes.
So when you get a check like that, that's all basically tax money. So it's just your tips, really.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of people don't realize that, especially, like, and you even say, like, when, like, younger kids come in, you're just like, oh, fuck, because, like, they won't tip as high as, like, maybe someone who, maybe they don't know, they don't care, or they don't have a lot of money, so they're being tight. Like, they'll probably throw $3 on it, on, like, a, $30, $40 tip, and it's like they put $3 down. Yeah,
because a lot of times, like, high schoolers and younger kids, if they have $20, they will get $20 of food, and then you're left with nothing. Yeah. So, like,
I used to do that. Well, in high school, I didn't know, and like I said, I didn't have no money. Now I don't.
How do you not know? My mom would always tell me when we go to restaurants, they don't make very much money. You always have to tip well.
Well, my dad always tipped really well too. Yeah, when we went out, he would leave like sometimes like $40, depending. Like if it was all four of us going out, and he'd spent like $60 or something, $60-$70. He'll sometimes leave $20-$40. Like,
wow.
Yeah.
See, that's a good guy right there.
Yeah. But
I also think it should depend on the service too. Like, if you're getting really bad service, I don't think you should be tipping out your ass.
But you should still tip.
Depends how bad it is.
Well,
But if
damn.
it's little shit like, oh, you didn't get a refill fast enough, then yeah, I think you should still tip
Well,
well.
see, that's where it gets tricky too, is because some people are more irritable than others, or you know what I mean. Like they'll
Yeah.
they'll complain about you taking too long or whatever it is, and then it's like, oh, just because of that, they're like, oh, that was shitty service.
Yeah. But you also have to be aware of like where you're at, you know? Because if you're
And
at
how
like
busy it is.
Chili's, you can't get mad that your service is not great. You
Well,
know?
what's up with Chili's? What you hate on Chili's?
I mean, it's just cheap. They hire anybody.
No,
If you're
I
at
know.
Ruth's Chris, yeah, it's gonna matter if you don't get a refill because that's supposed to be the standard.
Yeah,
of
like Applebee's
service.
is a big one. Like you can't really be mad at the shitty.
Yeah.
It's Applebee's, bro.
Exactly. Like they don't care about their job as much, you know? Because yeah.
So what's the one you've had the most fun at like out of all the ones you worked at? Because you worked like from down all the way up. I feel like.
Yeah, the most fun has to be Hooters. Because, like I said, you don't really do anything but talk to people all day, eat food in the back, and, like, kind of clean up at the end of the night.
Yeah,
So-
you're just getting money paid off basically your appearance.
Yeah, and I met a lot of fun girls there. We would just have a good time. Like, I don't know. And plus, like, the bond that you kind of get with your team when you're dealing with the same kind of BS, like you get pretty tight. So it felt really comfortable to be with the girls, and yeah, there was also like a really good. I know it's not like this for every Hooters, but I did feel like the girls had my back. Like I didn't feel like there was a big competition between us or like who was prettier or anything like that. Like it really just felt like we all looked out for each other because men can be, you know, men can try to push boundaries a lot, but I didn't ever worry about a girl doing me dirty there or anything like that.
Girl power.
But we're also really small Hooters in like the middle of nowhere, so I'm sure if you were like in LA or in like Clearwater, Florida or something like that, it might have more competitiveness,
Yeah.
like pettiness and jealousy.
Would you got mad if I applied to Hooters, like worked in the back or something?
No, you could make your $10 an hour and I wouldn't feel bad for you.
Oh, look at you hating, low key.
I mean, honestly. And it's funny because the cooks used to complain to me. They'd be like, oh, they messed up my schedule. They did this. And I'm like, you can make more than $10 or $11 or $12 somewhere else and not deal with
Literally
this.
go work at McDonald's.
Literally.
They're probably I thought they were starting at like 17 or something here. Or like
Is it?
16, yeah. At McDonald's. And they're getting paid 10.
I don't think, because I know some do offer like 15 or 16 an hour, but I think they still try to start you at like 10, 11 an hour and then give you like the promise of getting promotion or something like that. Because most applications I see, they promise you like 12.
So career-wise, right now, what do you want to stay in the food service business?
The only thing is maintainable at a young age. But as I get older, I know I don't want to stay because it's physically demanding. Like even now in my early 20s, my muscles be aching after a shift. My feet hurt. Like doubles just kill me. I can't imagine doing that.
Well, no. Well, like, what if you Damn, he scored like 80-yard touchdown right there. What if you became manager or something, like at your fancy restaurant? Would you want to do something like that?
Honestly, no, I don't think so. I've never wanted to be higher up in a restaurant. But I think where I am now, it's a little different. It's not as stressful, I don't think. And my manager has told me that, like, she loves her job. And it's the best job that she's had. And she does it really well. But I've also worked in other restaurants where managers just absolutely hate everything and everyone. And wish they had never come. And I've seen that a lot more than I've seen positive reactions
More
to being a
negative than
manager.
positive?
Yeah. So it's like maybe of a really nice restaurant, if people are nice, maybe I could see myself doing that. But also, I'm not a leader. You know, like I don't aspire to be in charge of people. Like that's just like it's just how
Too
I
much pressure
am.
on you or what?
Like I just don't like to have to care about what other people are doing. I don't want other people to be my responsibility.
Just want to worry about yourself.
Yeah, I want to do the best I can do and have me represent me. I don't want to have people who make me look bad.
Do you we talk about this a lot because you've been in Tennessee about as long as I have, for about a year or so, and you always be hating on it.
On Tennessee?
Yeah. Like you want to move and all that.
Yeah.
What don't you like about Tennessee? Because you came from Maryland, then you moved to Florida, and now you live here.
It's just that.
And you went to college for a little bit in Minnesota, right?
Yeah, that was too cold.
Too far north.
Yeah. But Tennessee is the first place I've lived where it's like there's not much to do here. Like, if you even things like the best things to do here, I would say are like, hiking, biking, outdoorsy things, like stuff like that. But then when it's winter, like, are you gonna go on a 5-mile hike in 40 degrees? No, I don't want to. Like, so it's like, what are you supposed to do? And then there's like Gatlinburg, which everybody talks about as like the thing to do. But once you've been, like, I don't see much of a reason to keep visiting often. And it's expensive too. And I've never been to Dolly World, so I can't talk on that.
Oh, Dollywood? Dolly Parton's.
Dollywood?
Yeah, it's called Dollywood.
Yeah, I haven't been there yet.
Yeah, Dolly Parton's amusement park.
And I want to go, but like there's amusement parks literally everywhere. So it's not really like something that would keep me here if it was great.
Okay, well, what did you do in Florida? I already know the answer to this. What did you do in Florida that you can't do here?
The beach?
That's it. That's all you want.
Yes.
You just want to go sit on the beach and do nothing.
I could do that all day, every day. Yes.
So it's not that there's nothing to do here. It's just your favorite thing to do is to sit on the beach.
Because in Florida, I could go to the beach. The restaurants on the beach are always amazing. I went canoeing all the time with my friends. There was springs. The nightlife is great. Nightlife is okay. It's better than most places, but it's pretty good. And yeah.
The one diner we went to when we visited Tampa, which we could talk about that too. We
didn't go to Tampa.
We were right outside of Tampa. But that was a couple weeks ago. That was on the Friday after Thanksgiving. We took a trip to Florida. I've never been to Florida, so that was my first time going. By the way, one of the most memorable things was that was about a 10-hour trip, 10.5-hour trip from here to there. I spent $53 in gas. That's it to get there. So I spent like $100 there and back, and it was like, dude, that was like 21 hours round trip. And I spent like $100, which is just bizarre. But anyway, that was the first time I went. It was the weather was, what was it, like 75 the whole time, but it was like 90% humidity.
Yeah, it wasn't super sunny when we went. No,
it was overcast like the whole time and rainy. But we went to this diner and you got some food and it ruined your day.
It didn't ruin my day, but it made me sad. It made me upset. Because, look, on the menu, it described this food item as stuffed French toast, right? I used to work at a diner, so I have an idea of what that is, of what that looks like, right? Tell me why it was 2 pieces of bread and some like freaking jelly, or not jelly, like
was a
cream
yogurt.
Cheese in the middle.
It was like the yogurt, because it was the one with like berries and shit, and it was like yogurt and berries.
It
But
was like a dry
spread.
French toast sandwich.
It was like a spread, and you threw a fit about it.
Yes, because it said it had a cream cheese filling and mixed berries and berries. Cream cheese with berries. So I thought I was getting berries, but it was like in the, I don't know. I hated it.
Whining the whole
It
time.
made me mad. But also, like, it's not a big deal. Sending back food in a restaurant is not a big deal.
Bro, you did send it back, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
You were like, this is awful. And I was like, oh my God, bro. Embarrassing me.
I wanted to say more than that, but I didn't.
And you work at a food place, so how are you comfortable doing that?
Because it doesn't matter. Like, if somebody doesn't like their food, it does not come out of their pocket.
So did we not pay for that?
No, you took it off the receipt. I didn't eat it.
You took one bite and said, fuck that. I could have ate it.
The point was that it
my
wasn't
salad. I
good,
ate a
and it
salad.
wasn't what they described on the menu. It wasn't good.
I ate a salad.
But yeah, at the end of the day, like, the only time that I've actually gotten annoyed at somebody sending back their food is because, so we have 2 steaks on our menu, right? We have a filet and we have a sirloin.
Mm-hmm.
Sirloin is half the price of the filet. It's a tougher cut of meat. That's just basic knowledge. Filet is more expensive, it's tender,
and smaller.
Whatever. She orders a sirloin, says it's too tough, so we remake it, not cooked as much. Did it like medium instead of medium well, whatever. Still too tough. And it was like, lady, just, if you don't want to get the good tender steak, just get something else. Get something else. You know, like, that was the only thing that was annoying. But at the end of the day, like, it comes off the receipt. Nothing's coming out of my pocket. I still got my money.
And that's that.
It's water under the bridge. I don't care. The restaurant still made a profit at the end of the night.
I don't know. I never really did that. I don't like doing that.
I will do that. Because I don't care when people do that to me. Like, if you don't like it, I don't want you to eat it or just not eat it and then pay for it. I think that's dumb. You should have a good experience when you go to a restaurant.
So you enjoyed the beach when we went?
What?
Did you enjoy the beach when we went?
Yeah, I did.
I don't know. Florida's wild, man. They got snakes. They got like tons of venomous snakes. They got pythons. Can you stop hitting that?
It's my first time hitting it. I hit the microphone a couple times. But I just want to mention, we did not see a single snake. Single snake when we were down there.
There's like 5 or 6 different venomous snakes in Florida. Then there's the Burmese python, which isn't even from Florida. An invasive species that's like literally eating everything and anything and everything because it has no natural predator. So they just, and then like people get paid by the government to like go out and like you kill a snake, you get there's a price up to 4 feet, and then every foot after that it's $25. I think it's like $50 for like a 4-foot one, and then every foot after is like $25, and sometimes they get up to like 18 feet, 16 feet. Then if it's a female and there's eggs, every egg I think is like $25 or something like that. It's something crazy, or it might be more. And like they lay up to like 40 different eggs sometimes. So if you find a pregnant one and kill it, however big it is, you get paid plus every single egg. And
Babe, it's
part of the reason, no, seriously, they're ruining the Everglades.
But it's not a reason to be afraid of Florida. Or not
Bro,
live there.
first of all, and then they got bull sharks. Like bull sharks are down there, and they're like the most aggressive shark, and they can swim in fresh water. And they're more common on the Gulf, that's where we were at.
I have never seen a shark in real life.
Well, you sit on the beach. You're not in the water.
I go in the water
the whole time.
Well, that time I didn't because it was cold.
It was not cold. Hey,
It was
guys,
freezing.
It wasn't
Nobody
cold.
was
It
in
felt
the
really
water.
good. Yeah.
There was like
What?
5
There's
people
swimming
up
there.
to their knees in the water, and that was it.
No, that one girl was swimming, and then that dude had like his daughter on his shoulders, and he was like all the way in. They were out there, and then that one guy was snorkeling.
People.
Remember that one guy was snorkeling on the side?
Yeah, but he probably had a wetsuit on.
He definitely didn't. He had like swim trunks.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, and you
But
don't
yeah,
need a wetsuit for that.
Everybody
damn water.
else, 90% of people were just sitting on the beach because it was too cold.
Then you got alligators everywhere. And I just watched on the news not too long ago, in the area that we were in, because it was raining a lot, that the snakes were finding like higher ground, and there's been like a big problem with like snakes in people's homes and shit. they're like going up higher ground and like getting into like houses, trying to find dry area to hang out at. Like, nah, I ain't doing that. And there's gators, and there's even saltwater crocodiles, and those big ass iguanas. And I showed you the video, and those fuckers are huge, and those are also an invasive species. Invasive.
You sound scary.
Scary. I'm just telling you.
You sound scary.
And then the people there are crazy.
Like, what if I get bit?
They be snorting bath salts and shit.
That's like saying,
Fucking
oh, there's
walk
bears
around
here.
saying jit all the
There's
time. Like, what the
coyotes
hell's going
here.
on down there?
I probably
Florida's
deal
nuts,
with just
bro.
any day than freaking rednecks.
What? Rednecks just leave you. Rednecks don't do nothing. They just drive around in their trucks with their Trump flags. They ain't bothering no one.
They just wait for their chance to bother people.
Oh my! Have you been bothered by a redneck since you've been out here?
No, because I ignore them.
No,
I don't engage.
Nobody's coming at you about it.
About what?
About anything.
Because I leave people alone. I don't start
Exactly.
shit.
That's my point. Is like no one's like being extra out on the street, and where you're just like, God, I don't want to go down to Market Square because there's gonna be a fucking KKK rally or something. They do that on the outside counties. You don't want to go. Don't go too far outside of Knox. I go around on my job.
How do you even want to go to Knox?
At my job, I go to some of the farther counties. Yeah, it gets a little rural, I'd say. Yeah, a lot of rebel flags, a lot of shit like that. Seriously, I'm like, geez, I get a little nervous sometimes.
Yeah.
But
I mean, I have experienced a few things here that I've never experienced before.
like what?
Like that one old man who told me it was okay. That
Oh,
I was
hold on. You can't just go over that. That's a big deal. So you were at your job, you were working, and you were serving this old couple, or?
No, it was like a table of 6, I think.
Okay. And the old guy, who what, in his 70s maybe?
One of the old guys. At least he was quite old. But he called me over, and the thing that really made me uncomfortable about the whole situation, it wasn't even what he said, but was the fact that he grabbed my arm and like pulled me down and was like talking to my face. Like, I hated that. I don't like that. Don't touch me. I can hear you from where I'm standing. But yeah, what I'm saying.
So what did he say?
Yeah, so he said, he pulls me in and he goes, I just want to let you know that it's perfectly fine that you're mixed and you're a great person. You're very nice. You're a very bright girl. So you don't have to worry about being mixed. And
what was your initial reaction to hearing this?
You know, I'm doing my job, you know, so I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be respectful. And honestly, the way he was saying it, he wasn't trying to be rude. He wasn't trying to be offensive at all. Like, he genuinely was trying to tell me that it was okay and that I was a great person. And so I kind of just laughed it off a little bit, like, oh, haha, thank you. And I said, you know, it's not something I've ever been worried about. And I kind of just left it at that.
Because they were all... nothing again?
No, because they were all done with their meal. They were just chatting afterwards.
So you go back to the, like, hearing that, you go back to the, like, the kitchen, right? Mm-hmm. And are you, like, processing what the hell he just said? And you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and I told the sous chef about it because he was the only one in there. And I was like, I have to tell somebody about this. And I told him, and he was like, man, that's crazy. Like, that's ridiculous. And he told... So the only other black person that works in my entire restaurant is one of the cooks, Thomas.
What about the manager?
Oh, yeah. But she works only in the mornings. Oh, okay. Like, I don't know. I forget about her a lot.
So what did the other guy say?
But he came up to me. So sous chef told him about it. And he comes up to me and he was like, you know, like, it sucks that we still have to deal with this stuff, like, in 2022. And I was like, yeah, but, you know, he was old. Like, his time was not 2022. So... You know, and I looked it up, and interracial marriage was only legal in Tennessee, and like, I think it was 1970 something was when it became legal, and that was because there was a federal law that went into place, I think with Roe v. Wade or something like that, that went into place that was a blanket overall, everybody in the United States can be married, like, interracially, and so that's why it became legal. I don't think it was ever the state's decision to make that happen. So I'm sure at the time there were people who had very strong opinions about that happening, and a lot of those parents, or people are now parents who, you know, But I think I did the math, and when it became legal, he was probably, I think I put in 75 as his age, because that's what he looked, at least. He would have been like 13 when that happened.
So that kind of ties in with like the whole thing with Jerry Jones, that picture of him when he was at that little rally thing, the desegregation thing. That was in the 60s or in the 50s, right? That was like 57 or something like that. But that was around like back in the day where all that stuff was still kind of occurring, and then being young and part of that cult, but part of that lifestyle, like growing up when he was growing up in Arkansas, like that's just what they thought, and that's what he was probably raised to think. So he was just there at his school, like seeing this historical event really happen in front of him. Some of them were in the front, obviously you could tell that they were not having it, but then, like other people were just kind of there, and that kind of like that dude's comment kind of like you said, not really surprising that maybe that was like a progressive thing for him to say. My point is like from where he grew up to like now saying like, hey, like it's okay that you're mixed, like, Yeah. And that was like him being progressive, which is pretty crazy.
Yeah, and like I said, I felt like he was genuinely being like trying to be nice and say something nice to me.
Yeah.
Like there was nothing mean about how he said it or anything like that, or his demeanor or anything.
Yeah, but it's still probably like it's not something to say. Like it's really not.
No, and don't touch me, please.
Yeah, it's like he didn't want anyone else to hear it or something,
Yeah.
But yeah, that's wild. And then like you think about it, it's really not that long ago, and we talked about that too. Like we were talking about when the Civil War was. It was it was like 1860s. 100 years later is 1960s, right? That was with like Martin Luther King and all that. Like, and then I told you about this picture that I had when I was born. I was born in 95, and then there's a picture with me, my dad, my grandfather, and my great-grandfather, and my great-grandpa was born in like 1900. So like when you go back generations, like it's really not that long ago. People think like this shit happened a long time ago. It really didn't.
Mm-mm.
So like him, the dude who told you that, right? His dad was probably born early 1900s, around there. And then his grandfather probably was born during the Civil War or something like that. Like really not that long ago. So for him to say something like that is probably super progressive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So then like when you think about, man, it's crazy that like racism and stuff like that still exists in today's age. It's like you kind of break it down like that. It is surprising because it shouldn't happen, but it's like this stuff is learned through families and through generations, and I feel like it's getting like less, obviously, like less of that, but it's still gonna take like generations for it to like, or just for everyone to just have interracial couples, and then we're all gonna look the same.
Yeah.
And then we'll find something else to hate each other about.
Yeah, and it's easy to underestimate as well how much what you're told from a young age and growing up actually affects you and your opinions. Because I remember as a kid, like my parents telling me things and I just believed them. I believed anything that pretty much anybody told me. I was very naive, And so I had to unlearn a lot of things growing up, but there was like a lot of things.
And what does suck is there's kind of like that feeling in your stomach where you're like, damn, because like you obviously love your family or your parents, and then you like want to believe what they're saying is true or like have your best interest at heart, and then like you maybe get older and you're like, damn, this shit was kind of fucked up, and then it kind of fucks with your how you feel, because it's like this is your family, so you love them, but then it's like this isn't right. And then it kind of leaves you in this like middle, like no man's land, where you have to like just go, well, like you got to start thinking for yourself, But sometimes that could be hard because it might be against what you were even taught.
Yeah, and also how people tell you things,
Right.
Because sometimes they'll give you numbers, they'll give you statistics and studies and all this stuff that, probably didn't ever happen or is true, but you just grow up thinking, oh, that's a fact. That is a fact. And then no matter what you learn from then on, in the back of your head is like, okay, but I know the numbers I was told is this, and so that can't be true. So it's always an eternal battle from there on, depending on what you were told.
Yeah.
Because, like, when I think about it, too, like, the things I believed as a kid, and I'm like, okay, now I'm older and I know better, but how are these people still old and think the same way? You know, how do they not grow as a person and form their own opinions? But, like, there are people who really believe that, like, black bodies are different from white bodies, and, like, black people's brains works differently than white people's brains, and they think that's a scientific fact and are just, like, stuck on that and just believe that because that's probably what they were told, and they're probably given, you know, numbers and things like that to correspond with it as a kid and growing up and throughout the whole life. So
Right. A big thing too is what we talked about in the last podcast we did was who you grew up around, like the demographic. Like you grew up around what, like 90% black people?
yeah.
I grew up around more of a mixture. I had a lot of friends of different backgrounds, and I go to their houses and talk to their families. So it was different, you know, where like people in Idaho, like that's probably one of the more racist states. I'm not, you know what I'm saying? That's a blanket statement, but like there's a lot, but they're not around black people out there. There's not a lot of black people live in Idaho. In the South, there's black people everywhere. And like, I feel like a lot of, like, we all live amongst each other here. There are obviously a lot of racism and all that kind of roots from here, but I don't know. It's different. Like the Southern hospitality and everything, like everyone's more friendly here for the most part, but everyone lives amongst each other versus like areas where it's mostly white people and then they just see what they see on the news and that's what they go off of. And that's pretty bad if you're going off of like Fox News or whatever, or vice versa, you know? And they don't have any like personal experience. The personal experience is what goes a long way in interacting with human beings. So me growing up around all different types of people, I just learned that you're either a fucking dickhead or you're not. You know, like you're either a good person or you're not. It doesn't really matter, you know, what you look like or where your family's from. It's just kind of how you were raised, and that's pretty much it, you know? So.
Yeah. I think that's a really big privilege to be able to grow up around a bunch of different types of people and ethnicities.
And that's why I'm glad I don't regret growing up in California. And that's always been something that I talked about is I was blessed in that, you know, ever since I was in kindergarten. And that's before I knew what racism was or any of that. I didn't know any of this shit existed. Like my world was so small. And I went to school and I had Mexican friends, white friends, black friends. Still to this day, I call them up. Like a lot of my friends I've known since first grade, kindergarten, you know, and like we're still all friends because we grew up together, you know, and none of the shit that we would hear or any of that ever affected our friendship, you know.
Yeah.
So that's like what I truly appreciate, and I like, if I could tell anyone, you know, even if they don't grow up in an environment like that, is to not just go off of what you hear. And also don't just go off of a bad experience. Like initially, you might have a bad experience with like a white guy might have a bad experience or encounter with like a black dude, and some shit happens, and then they just like, you know, I guess it is true, you know, or like whatever they heard, and it's like then they're just even more jaded about it, you know.
Yeah.
So, again, like I said, and I don't necessarily even go off of just like, oh, I've had all great encounters, you know, because like I said, that we're all people and there's good and bad in every part of the world, you know what I mean? So, I just kind of take everything with a grain of salt and limit my world to where I only can control and am affected by what's around me. You know what I mean? So everything outside, that's all just a bunch of noise that really doesn't have anything to do with you. You know what I mean? And that if more people did that and thought like that, the media wouldn't be as powerful as it is. Because people sit online and they see what they see and they bicker and argue and go, see, blah, 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 well, blah, 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 well, what about this, blah, 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 what about that? And it's like everyone on Twitter is not even listening to each other. They're just like waiting to tweet, waiting to speak about shit that's not even directly affecting them. You know what I mean? So if like everyone just
Yeah.
like took control of like what was directly in front of them and the people that were directly around them, dude, it would not be this way at all. You know what I mean? And it's ridiculous. That's why I never engage in shit like that, because it's so pointless. And you're just feeding the machine. You're just feeding it. And I don't do that because there's no point in it. You know what I mean? So I don't know. That's just my take. And I know you aren't even active on social media like that either. I just
I
want to
mean,
see
I
the
don't
memes.
post, but I be on Twitter.
Well, I
Like,
think it's good to pay attention. It's good to pay attention to a point, but it's also good not to like involve yourself so much into conversations or into stupid shit where like it like makes you angry as you're laying in bed and your heart starts pumping. Cause like it's done that to me where like I read shit, I'm like, are you fucking like, I almost want to just tweet like, you guys are all so fucking stupid. Like you guys are
yeah.
arguing for the dumbest things, you know?
Yeah, and plus social media, like the whole algorithm of them feeding you content in which they think that you will engage with, not that you will like, that you will engage with. So things that make you angry,
Yeah.
they're gonna show you more.
And it's all negative shit. It's
Yeah.
all negative shit.
Yeah, sometimes I notice that like I'll be scrolling through like trying to find a YouTube video to watch and it'll be like 10 most hated Skip, 10 worst things about Skip, like negative,
Yeah.
negative, negative, negative things. And even on Twitter, it's like that too. People will just be talking about, oh, this horrible thing happened, oh, this injustice here, this terrible thing there. And like, I don't think everybody or a lot of people think about how that affects how your brain functions when
Yeah.
you read and see so many false and negative things.
And they keep it divided, you know, black, white, cops, not
Yeah.
cops, and it's like always what the cops did wrong, or what the black people did wrong, or what the white people are doing wrong, and it's all of the bad things, and it compiles up, and it just makes you feel like, man, this world is fucked up.
Yeah. I mean, there's definitely things that should and need to be talked about, but
100%.
there's also like a big focus on the wrong things and the solutions to them as well.
Well, what do you think we should do? What do you think? Like, what do you think about, like, do you see it getting any better?
I don't know, because what these companies want is engagement, right? They want you to see a tweet or whatever, click on it, look at the responses, write your own response. They want you, like, to do that, especially on like TikTok, YouTube. They want you to be involved and get involved, whether that's you hating on something or arguing with somebody. They just get money on clicks. So I
And
don't know if it'll ever get better.
yeah. And not even companies, but individuals as well. Think about all the tweets you see that go viral, right? And it's like, oh, look at these, like, and they like for white people, they put like the YT, or whatever for the algorithm. But they it's something, right? And then you click on it, and then underneath it's the same guy, the same page promoting some lotion or promoting some like, oh, look at my go follow me on Instagram or like on YouTube, and it's like, or whatever it is, right? Or my bath soaps and little balls or something. It's like you're just promoting your shit, and you started with something negative because it gets clicks. And it's like
Yeah.
and no one even cares about what the hell you're posting. Everyone's just going down to the comments and like gonna argue about what you just did. But all you did that for was to promote your own shit, and
Yeah.
you're just feeding into the negativity.
Yeah.
It's crazy. But like people don't look at it like that and see that. They don't see that the person who supposedly is just so appalled by this that's going on is also promoting like 7 different things underneath their one tweet. Because it's like,
Yeah.
holy shit, this is blowing up.
Like, do you remember how bad clickbait used to be on YouTube?
Yeah, it was pretty.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. If there was something trending, every single thumbnail had a picture of that person.
And it had nothing to do with it.
Nothing.
That's like the Soulja Boy effect. That's what he did on LimeWire to blow up, Shout out to Soulja Boy. He was doing that. He would put like 50 Cent in the club and it'd be fucking you, like when you turn it on.
Yeah, but that was innovative at the time.
No, that was a pioneer move. Like he was finessing everyone. So, but it got to a point where it's like, that shit's cancerous, man. And it's just so funny how it just blows my mind how people don't as a majority see it and go, dude, this is fucking stupid. You know what I mean? I see it more now. I do. Like when I look in comments, there are a few that are like, bro, why would you post this? Like, why would you do this? Take this down. Like, there are a lot of people that are doing that now, but a lot of them get clowned too, or it's just more arguing. That's all it is. It's just more argument. So, one thing I do remember that everyone was on board with, and I do fuck with Twitter because of this. There was this video. This was a couple years ago. This kid thought he was gonna be funny, and he grabbed a cat, and he launched it as high as he could in the air, and it smacked onto the road, and started screaming. It like broke its hips and shit. Like it was fucked up, and they thought it was funny, and not one person thought that shit was funny. And Twitter did its thing, found out who it was, what high school he went to, where he lived, contacted the police department, and like the next day he got in trouble and he got like arrested. And then they showed like a update of the cat at the vet, had like a cast or whatever, but it was like fine, and they took care of it and all that. You know what I'm saying? That made me feel so good. Like I still remember that. It was like years ago. But see the power of Twitter right there, the power of like you can do positive shit together, where it's like you don't feed into this negative shit. And everyone was like, nah, bro, this is not cool. But that was like one of the few times that were like, as a whole, like Twitter like came together and like did justice. It was pretty awesome. I'm not gonna lie.
What that reminds me of? Did you ever watch the documentary Don't Fuck with Cats?
No, I never did.
We gotta watch it because it's really good.
Okay.
But it's pretty much, it's kind of similar to that in the sense that this man was posting videos of him killing kittens on the internet. And a group of people formed a group on like Facebook or something and tracked and found who this guy was better than the police could.
But I never watched it, but I have heard of that.
Is
it on Netflix? Yeah.
I watched it when it first came out.
It was good?
It was good. I was interested the whole time.
Like people like collectively did their like investigation.
Yeah, like they were doing real detective work on the internet. Like any picture that this guy would post, they would like zoom into every single little detail, found out what country he lived in based on the cigarettes brand.
Damn.
Yeah, like all this stuff. It's really crazy.
See, that's why it's not surprising. Like someone's like, "Yo, who the fuck found this picture of Jerry Jones?" I'm like, "Bro, it's the internet, and people will find anything." You know?
But it could also like I feel like it's a bit of a double-edged sword. Is that
it definitely is, yeah,
because there are definitely people who get like doxxed and all their information out there which shouldn't happen for whatever they did. And like there was this guy on TikTok, this kid on TikTok. So there's like this really big channel or page on TikTok, person on TikTok who would take their kids to Disney all the time. Like that was their whole page, was like Disney trips and being a Disney mom and
Disney's
all that stuff.
Expensive, bro.
Yeah, but honestly, like they have so many followers and did so much promotion that they probably didn't pay a lot to go. They probably got invited and stuff. But anyways, this teenage boy like was making a joke about like, what if these kids like monster trucks and they don't want to go to Disney every weekend, you know? Like just said some little joke or something, and she literally like came for him. Like people got his school, his job, like he got fired and all this stuff, and he ended up killing himself because like his life was pretty much ruined from that one comment he made. Yes, because she just got so offended over it, even though you probably didn't even know who she was. But like
that cancel culture is sick.
Yeah, like it's good when it's deserved. You know,
yeah, but again, that's with that kind of power comes abuse, where like who's deserved and who's not, and now the public's making that judgment call.
Yeah,
and it's very skewed. You know what I mean? Where it's like someone deserving, right, gets canceled, and then this kid gets canceled too for some dumb shit, and now he's dead.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? But I don't know. I think what do you think about cancel culture now? I feel like it's not as prominent as it was like 3 years ago, where it was like, man, I was afraid to just like put any type of tweet out there.
Honestly, I remember for a period of time, I felt like
you couldn't say shit.
No, well, not necessarily that. I don't feel like that is true. Like you couldn't say anything, but because I think there's a difference between people getting offended on things and people trying to cancel you, like cancel culture.
Well, what it ended up being, it was like I really feel like if you aligned a certain way politically, they just came for you. And they would just dig old things up or try to find things on you and like get you out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it was like a big deal like when like Trump first got elected and like all the uproar and how like like so many people were butthurt about it. And then man, I don't know. I really think it kind of started with that. And then he, you know, like the way he would talk and the shit he would say, and then like, dude, we got to get this guy off the fucking off a platform or whatever. And then like it just kind of like snowballed from there, where like a lot of people were just getting fucking canceled left and right.
Yeah, but I mean, with Trump, I think speaking on Trump or choosing a side for or against Trump is so difficult because, like, while he may have done some positive things for our country and as a businessman, like, just seeing who he is as a person, how he speaks to people, and, like, some of the things he said before in the past, it's, like, hard to want to align yourself with
Right.
a
100%.
person like that.
Yeah.
So even if you completely support him, you might not want to say so or like actually actively support. But I don't know. Because I hear Republicans and conservative people say all the time, like, oh, they want to silence us and we can't say anything. But I don't know how true that really is. But I also don't know a ton about it. I haven't done any of my own research about it or like.
Well, the thing with that is like, all major social media platforms align themselves liberal, and they feed that side more easily.
But I mean, at the same time, the demographic for social media is more young and.
Right, but that's why it was easy for them to like get away with it. But there's a lot of people who would tweet things about like a conservative idea, or like they didn't believe like abortion was good, or they couldn't say that. You would get your account like deleted because you said that, and they would count it as like, oh, that's hateful. But it's like a lot of it really wasn't under like necessarily hateful. Like not everyone believes it like pro-choice. A lot of people are pro-life, and just because you're pro-life doesn't mean you're like hateful. You know what I mean? Some people say things like the way they say it, but again, that goes like how Trump talks too. Like a lot of shit he says, like, bro, shut the fuck up. Like if you just were quiet, maybe you get like, you know, more support. But a lot of things he says, it's like, bro, like what are you doing? He says some wild things and it pisses people off or it turns them off. You know what I'm saying? So they don't care what he's actually doing because they don't like him as a person.
And that's something I've struggled with a lot too when he first came into the running, was when the whole grab her by the pussy thing was happening and people were talking about it. I remember just seeing that, and I didn't necessarily jump to the assumption that, oh, he's a sexual predator, like he's horrible or anything like that. But what it came off to me was, this man doesn't have all of our best interests in mind. It didn't feel like he had my best interest in mind. And that's what made it hard for me to see him as like a good leader.
Right.
Because I just felt like he actually doesn't care about a lot of us. Like that's what it felt like. And my opinion isn't 100% swayed from that. But I don't know.
Well, I mean, it just goes to show for you, like one thing isn't going to be like, oh, canceled. That's it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or like a lot of people feel that way. They just look for one bad thing. But you could do that. You could find that with anyone. You know, and I didn't vote. Like I'm not like trying to support Trump in any way. I didn't vote for Trump. I'm not even gonna get into none of that shit. Like, I just see things from a wider perspective, and I look at things from both sides. And like, there's people that are nuts over here, and there's people that are nuts over there, and it's like I don't want anything to do with either side. Like you guys are like, to align yourself with certain people is like, who may seem like they have your best interest in heart, but they really don't. And at the same time, like the higher ups, they're all on the same team. Yeah. And it's like they sit here and just watch us argue, you know. And it just goes back to that. It's like, are we really all this dumb? Yeah. You know.
And, like, how I felt about Trump and all thing, like, if I was a young adult during Clinton and Monica Lewinsky's whole scandal, I would have felt the same way about him. I would have not trusted him. Yeah. Like, same thing. It's not just Trump being Trump, you know. It's looking at somebody in a position of leadership. And that's hard. And also, like, I feel like what's unique with Trump too is like so many people make him their personality. Like, I am a Trump supporter and that is who I
Yeah,
am.
that's like over the top, and that's kind of
Yeah.
annoying. And it's like, all right, dude.
And like seeing all the stickers on people's cars, pictures of Trump's face on people's cars, and it's like your vote still counts the same if you are on his dick or not. And that makes me think that you just want people to comment. You want people to engage with you. You want to argue. And it just turns me off.
But at the same time, they do have the right to do that. You want to fly a Trump flag, go for it. Same people, they they want to fly, Joe Biden flag or whatever. Like, go for it. That's your right. But just know, don't be surprised if someone has something to say about it because you're putting that out there. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's always an opposite side. I mean, that even goes to sports. If I go around with my cowboy shit on, someone's going to say something.
Yeah.
Like, I wore an LA hat to this convention one day for work. It was like Friday. I wore my ball cap. And, like, even my boss, what's all this LA BS, Like,
yeah. And it
you wear shit, you need to expect that people are going to say something about
exactly.
it.
You're
but don't get
representing
butthurt
it
about
with
it
yourself.
either. Yeah.
Yeah. And the same goes for the liberal side, too. If you're decked out in Joe Biden shit and Bernie Sanders shit all over your car, like,
all the
you're
stickers.
You're inviting people to say something because you probably want to engage and argue and get into that altercation with somebody.
Yeah, you got your answers in your notes already, ready to go. You ready to fire
like
shit
you have
off.
your little statistic list out already.
But the point with that, the crazy thing with that is you're not willing to have a conversation. You're just ready. You're already on the defense. You put your flag out there, and then anyone who says anything, you have an answer for it. You don't want to talk about it. You just want to try to, like, this is what, whatever, like, go off,
Yeah.
Get your vaccine.
And plus, and I used to think about, like, are they trying to promote, like, the president all over their car? But I don't think it's that anyways, because if you are liberal, looking at a sticker, Trump 2020, whatever, is not going to persuade you, to vote differently. Or, like,
That's true.
like
I don't look at that and go,
Like,
maybe
he might have a point. Like,
that is true. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I always refer to sports because I feel like sports is so universal. It's like that's the same thing. Everyone, especially here, they fly their Tennessee shit, the Tennessee flags, or, And if I go in, and there are people who wear Georgia stuff, but if I go wear my Georgia hat, I better expect some banter. Like, I can't get offended if somebody comes at me. It's like, bro, you're asking for it. If you wear that, if you don't want no one to do that, don't wear it.
Exactly.
But wear your shit and be. I guess if you're gonna do it, own it then, But don't get upset when somebody presses you, That's my thing, and that's for both sides.
Yeah, but what also boggled my mind too was when Trump first, came into the scene, what people were associating him with, whether it was true or not, was racism, sexism, and just overall not being a good person, right? Like, that was the argument. That's how people saw him.
When he joined a political party. Before that, he was hanging out with 50 Cent at the basketball games. Mac Miller made a song called Donald Trump, was one of his most popular songs. People looked at him like he's a boss, he's a businessman, he knows what he's doing, right?
Yeah.
But then you join a political race and all of a sudden everything aligns where you're either, they just push a lot of bad narratives on you.
Yeah, because you're going into a position of leadership.
Yeah.
Of representation.
But he was already, like,
he
not
was just
politically,
a rich guy.
But he was, like, owned businesses or whatever.
I mean, yeah.
But yeah, when you do it politically.
It's the same as, like, Jeff Bezos. Like, a lot of people don't like Jeff Bezos because he's so rich. But at the end of the day, like, people aren't going and protesting Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, because he's not... Wow, I don't know how to say this because he's not running for a political position. Even though he's politically aligned, politically aligned and he uses his money behind the scenes for a lot of shit, but it's not out in the open.
Yeah, he's not representing America, or like.
He's just representing his pockets.
Yeah, and his business.
But that was why people like Trump, is because he was part of that group of the rich people, and then he aligned himself politically, and then tried to expose a lot of it. Like when he did the debate with Hillary, And like even like Dave Chappelle talked about it, where she's like, oh, he doesn't pay his taxes, and he's like, well, you don't either, and none of your friends do, and you're the one who wrote the tax law, so why don't you change it? I'm doing the same thing you guys are doing, but you don't want to change it because all your friends do it. And it was like, holy shit. And that right there is why everyone was like, bro, Trump, like he's cleaning the swamp, like that whole deal. But he just doesn't know how to talk, bro. He really doesn't, bro. He be lighting himself on fire. You know what I mean? I think there's some things he had like people's best interests at heart, like the people, but he's very arrogant as well and like full of himself, and that kind of like overshadowed everything else he was trying to do.
Yeah.
It made him look like a buffoon.
And like the reason I don't argue with my mom about Trump at all, and I try not to even talk about it with her at all, is because I don't care enough to actually like research into all of the things he's done, or like actually look up credible sources to like, learn about it. And I just know what I've heard on social media, which is why I don't take a strong stance, because I know everything you read on social media is not true.
Right. Well, at least you're not doing that and then going out and like, fuck Trump, and like doing that without knowing anything, and that's what a lot of people do, is like they see what they see and then they go off that without doing their own research, which is just pure laziness. Everyone's just kind of lazy when it comes to that. Unless you really want to know, then you got to look into it.
Yeah. So like if my mom would ask me like, well, why don't you like him? And I'd say, well, this happened. She'd be like, oh, that never happened. Where'd you hear that? And I'm like, oh, well, Twitter. So I guess it could not be true. So everything that I feel my opinion has been formulated on, my mom was like, well, where'd you hear that? I'm like, okay, well, nowhere credible. So she pretty much just makes it sound like everything that I believe is not actually true. And so like I can't argue that it is, because they're not from credible sources. So I just leave it alone. I try to leave it alone.
What do you think about Elon? What he's doing on Twitter?
Honestly, as long as Twitter is still working and seems pretty normal, I don't care.
Twitter ain't going away. The fact that they said Twitter was going to die is wild. It's not going to die.
I knew it wasn't going to.
That was an extreme, like, and like they keep talking about all these people are pulling out like these ads or whatever, but it's like,
yeah,
dude, he's doing the people's work. He's exposing shit, or he's trying to. So I'm letting him. I like Elon, honestly. He's cool. He ain't done no one no harm.
And I feel like Elon is so vocal. Like he tweets a lot.
He does.
He's
funny though. He be funny.
And I don't think he's ever said anything about taking Twitter down or Twitter not working anymore. I think that was everybody else.
It was the people, because he fired a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And then some of the people were like, he doesn't know what he's doing. Like it's gonna die. Like it's not gonna work because he fired too many people and they don't have enough people to run it. And he did bring some people back. Realized like, okay, maybe we do need that guy. But his point was like, there's a lot of you guys. You guys don't do shit. I'm firing all of you. So that's what he did. And so many people were mad about it. But he fired a shit ton of people. But he did bring some people back once he realized like, oh, I do need some of these people. But then they hold it over their head. See, you don't know what you're doing. You know what I mean? He also has billions of dollars, and you have like 7, so
it does look like that, though.
Well, he has enough money to make those mistakes. So, who am I to judge? This man is a billionaire, so he might know something, a thing or two. So
I can still not get over the fact that he dated Grimes.
I know, bro. That's crazy. And then they named their son like some fucking equation.
I don't know. Was it pronounced like
Alex? Or their son or daughter? I don't know. Whoever. Did they have a boy or a girl?
I don't even know.
Anyway, it don't matter. See, and again, people wasting their time on what Elon's doing with Twitter versus like, why don't you, put some effort into what you're doing in your own life? You know what I'm saying? But anyway, you gotta go, huh?
I do.
Okay.
I have to see what my mom wants.
Okay. Sophie's leaving me. She's going to go have dinner with her friend, and I'm going to be alone.
Yeah.
And starve.
You want me to bring you home some food?
Will you?
Yeah.
No, you don't have to.
Well.
Okay, we'll talk about it after.
Okay.
But anyway, we will see you guys next week. Like I said, we're going to keep doing this. See, that wasn't so bad, was it? Sophie's been pretty nervous about doing it, which I don't blame her because it is hard to get on a mic and in front of a camera and talk to people, or not even talk to people, but talk, and it takes time. But I feel like you did a good job.
Thanks.
So I might give you a raise.
Wow,
Yeah.
really?
Oh, by the way, we'll do that for the intro. Never mind. This is the Mulberry Podcast, episode 61. If you're still listening, make sure you like and subscribe. I feel like if you are still listening, you're probably already subscribed. So, but we appreciate all of you, and we will see you next time.